Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rolldown, the TFT Esports podcast, where we talk about everything from the grassroots to the pro scene, from the couch to the crown, and we're in the place where the crown happens, kind of. We're in the hotel, but it's pretty close. And I have my friends here. We have Impetuous Panda and Clement K. Chu. They are the experts when it comes to EMEA and CN and APAC, and so we're going to break down everything in an hour and 20 minutes because we have to.
Or less.
No way. There's no
We'll try our
shot.
best. Last time it was almost 2 hours. Right? It's not going to happen again, we promise.
Let's go.
Shout out GG Tech for the scuffed setup. There's our OBS. Hello. We're going to do a tier list, as you can probably expect, because it probably was clickbait in the title of this video. But the broadcast coming up this weekend is going to be, I'm personally really excited. I think it's going to be one of the best ones yet. We have some special things, so make sure you tune in. Starts March 27th at 5 a.m. PT. For each of the days besides the last day, because that last day, EU decides to have their daylight savings.
Don't blame us for that. This is a global paradigm. I'm not a part of that.
Hey, is there daylight savings over?
No.
Okay.
Really?
No,
See?
there isn't. No.
I think they're phasing it out in some countries though, so
It's probably a good idea. It's probably a good idea. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be a great show. And obviously, throughout the weekend, there's going to be a lot of stuff about the next set coming out. So the Set 17 show match will be on the final day. That'll be Sunday of the broadcast. But there's the dev drops on day 2, and there's another video on day 1.
There's stuff, extra stuff.
Yeah, there's another graphic that showed that, but we don't have that one. We do have this one for pick'ems, though, because this is why you're really here, because you want to gamble and, get good chibis and stuff.
We don't condone it.
Yeah, the word gambling is a big no-no.
Yep.
You want to make educated guesses.
It's a
to
game of
get
skill.
Some digital assets from Riot Games. If
There you
want.
go.
Well, yeah, and bragging rights with your friends.
Bragging
Exactly.
rights. Yeah,
Yes.
that's the word we use.
Yeah, this is not a Riot sponsor show. Anyway,
Just in case.
you know what is sponsored this show? Gangly. He made a video. It's actually on this channel. So if you go below, he tells you all of the correct picks. Just watch the first 20 seconds of the video, please, because it's hilarious. He does this giant acronym. It's like players that have done well in the past do well again, and then he says the word. You have to go watch it. It's hilarious, but it's content time.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We have a tier list with all 40 players
Holy.
going into Tactician's Crown, and this will be the correct list.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So
Objectively correct.
objectively correct.
I'm down.
The best ways to do this is probably to get people in S tier, get people in D tier, and then fill in the middle, yeah?
Agree?
Okay.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unanimous S tier.
Yep, go for it. Here.
Hwamie has to be. Weijin, yeah.
He's going to fight you. He's going to fight you already.
Double.
Why can't I see anyone? Okay, I'm grabbing Ironbog
YBY.
and YBY.
Has to be there.
Okay.
Revan.
Okay, let's move on.
Probably we can
Double.
talk about later.
You said Hwame.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd say Li Xiao and Li Chuan, maybe?
I think that's
Li
too much
Chuan
S tier, no?
is,
We have to keep S tier to like 5 or 6 maximum. Or else I'm adding Go.
I think
Why?
they're definitely A tier, but we can debate if they're S or not.
Okay, I'll just put them A tier for now.
Oh.
So this is S tier currently.
Yeah.
Who are we missing? Anyone? That's 6.
AQ1H is also very close to S.
Yeah.
Travis
I
has
agree.
him S++, so
It might just...
I think they're A, and then we can see if we want to move them
yeah,
up.
Okay.
I agree with that.
AQ1H.
Let's keep S lean.
Okay. Let's drop down to D tier, and this is no disrespect. Again, this is just our against the field. Obviously, these are the 40 best players in the set,
So these D tier players are better than pretty much every single person watching this video.
including Revan.
Is Revan watching this video?
I don't know, Revan. Hello. Sorry.
Revan had an interesting path to Attack Crown, and I think he won Shurima Cup. He didn't make it back to TPC. He bombed out in week 1 of regionals. And he hasn't really proven much of anything since that Shurima Cup win in terms of his results in tournament, in terms of his meta read. So this is going to be his big revelation.
It's gonna be his redemption.
He either saves himself and he gets the lifesaver and he survives and he stays elite for the rest of his career, or this could be the start of a downfall. Because
Right.
Tier 2 is complicated for him.
and if he does make it, he actually takes King's spot. So
If
I
he
want
makes
that
top
hate
8.
watching count.
So there is a very special narrative there where it's pretty crazy that you can lose
Yeah,
your
yeah.
TPC spot depending on how a player does.
It's
at
exciting.
Attack
It's exciting. But he's D for sure.
I think very, very similar story. This set specifically is Darth Noob. Won the EMEA Home Cup and had a fantastic showing, but that's basically it for his fantastic showings of the set. And so I would definitely not have the highest expectations from him, but he's been on this stage before, and so I think that gives him a little bit of the edge over the field, but I'm not expecting too much.
If I have to recommend someone from APAC, probably have to put Obo here. He's been, a long veteran, played in set 3 of the Tech Round Champions, but he historically does have the weakest stats in tier 1, and is pretty much a Yone one trick. So, not too high expectations there.
And we'll order this after.
Yep.
We're just putting things in there now. There also, if you don't follow Chinese TFT very much, there's 2 circuits that happen.
Yeah.
There's the TOC, which is TFT, and then there's JOC, which is the Fight for the Golden Spatula.
And I will say this, I'm sorry we don't know that much about the JOC players because the meta and the mechanics are completely different, but JOC technically did do very well last time. We do have to give them a shout out.
More than last time. I think historically there's always been the idea that, mobile players are not very good, coming into how they're going to adapt. They always tend to pop off. At least 1 or 2 players who are breakthrough players tend to do quite well, either landing in the final 8 or making top 10, top 12. So whatever ranking we have here, which I guess will be in the unknown territory or D tier potentially, it's not really a clean understanding of how good
I have
they
a
are.
suggestion. Let's just put Weimu Luoqiu A at the very least because he was technically the highest point player last year.
Yeah. I think there's just so much unknown from these players.
And there's not enough sample size competitively for us to have any real basis on, unless these players aren't watching them the entire set, which I think is not really possible, at least in my mind.
So this is our JOC winner, right?
Yep.
And I would imagine that puts them at least tier above D.
I would say let's just not rank them.
Just straight up leave them off.
Yeah, I think we can rank Weimu Luoqiu because you have to give him respect for KO Coliseum. He was the best in group stage, second place in the finals. So
I moved him to the end of the list.
Yep.
And that's where they'll stay down there below. Okay, who else goes in D tier?
Let's see.
I don't think anyone else from EMEA, to be honest.
I think the only one that I would consider is possibly ready just because of inexperience.
Did have a very good set. 9th at Paris, if I recall correctly, and also made it through, obviously, two weeks of regionals. But this is the TAC round field. This is the hardest tournament some of these players will be playing for the first time as well, for the players that are debuting. So I do agree. Ready, I think, is going to be a possible underdog this tournament.
Another one to consider is possibly Kai Wang, but then you're going to get memed on just like Gangly did.
Kai Wing's definitely C or D for me. I can't place him higher.
I would probably put him low C, but I don't think I'm willing to put him D tier, especially because he did perform very well on that last patch, and it's very similar. So,
did play, I think, 16 total games of Demacia.
well,
in some capacity. And I do think players are going to be more receptive to the idea that Demacia as a combo overall is very stable for especially days 1 and 2. And I think even with a long shot revert to the Vayne and the Kaisa, I think it'll still be one of the most played comps. And players who have played half of their games on this line might be in trouble in terms of how contested it will be, how contested Garen will be, how stable their game plans will be. So I'm a bit worried for Kai Wang in that sense.
Cat's out the bag. I don't think he's going to repeat the regional performance. So verdict probably C as well.
Okay.
Low C, I agree.
Low C. Who else belongs in this bottom-ish of the bracket?
I would have to put Royal there as well.
Yep.
He's been a ladder warrior. He's been competing for a very long time, but has been known to, not do that well in tournaments. So he's probably going there. One thing I will say for him, he's super flex. He's played the most compositions and regionals out of anyone here. So does have some tricks up his sleeve. Typically not a top-tier performer.
Okay.
From EMEA, I'm not sure about Raiko. I think he had a very different meta read across the entire set. He was the Ionia master throughout most of the set.
Yeah.
Obviously, Yunara was nerfed coming into the last few patches. He still made it work. I think he played 2 different games of Yunara in across regionals. He played 6 total games of Ionia. Did really well with it in spots that I thought he would have bleed out in stage 4. Ended up somehow beating a lot of Fast 9 boards as well. Played some Shadow Isles, played 4 games of Yordle, so he had a very interesting game plan, mostly playing around Bard rerolling or Bard rolling and loose streaking and stabilizing on stage 3. I'm not sure how it's going to fare against just better quality players and stronger overall boards where you could maybe more easily win a lot of those fights in stage 3 and stabilize off of that. So I think he's either going to bomb out bottom 30 or make final lobby. This is my read on Raiko. This set and the last set.
Sounds about right.
He's a player who, when he has the right read, I think he really distinguishes himself as a competitor.
Yunara did get buffed.
That's true.
I do like Raiko a lot. You know, I watch a lot of his educational vids. I suggest everyone do the same.
And he's one of the players who I think has not really stopped playing the entire sets because he was also trying to go for rank 1 and A. Not sure if he made it or not. Not just with scrims, but just playing on ladder pretty much every single day for the last 2 months.
Right.
So I think that gives him some edge as well in terms of not really.
I think he's a fantastic tournament level player.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about just the early start of the Swiss stage, I think he's going to do very well. This is a guy that is very comfortable rolling on stage 3. He likes to hit his pairs there. He's typically a lose streak and then pop off on stage 3 type of player. So I kind of like that play pattern. I think
Maybe I put him B, to be honest. I think B.
Low B, I
It
think
could
is
go
good.
either way, though. I will say either a lot better than average or a lot below average as well.
Yeah,
That's my take on him.
I think that's where a lot of those players would belong, right? It's just like either they're gonna be the best or they could possibly be the worst. And Raiko had a good set.
Had a very good set. His best set ever.
Yeah, compared to a lot of the other players. That's why I would
He was,
struggle
I
to
think,
put him
third
in
in pro points.
Yeah.
And really leveled up. Used to be a chaotic kind of just no game plan. You know, back when Graves reroll was a thing, just doing the absolutely crazy, fast 9 without any HP. But now he's become a very different player.
Okay, all right.
I would have to put Saye from CNC as well. This is a player that just popped out of nowhere. It's no competitive experience prior to this set, and he's currently still studying. So,
Okay.
the form is going to be a little bit in question, but he had a very, very good regional run to make it all the way here. It's true crouch to crown approach where he actually started in one of the internet cafe tournaments
Oh,
to
cool.
move all the way up. Good thing for him, but typically if it's your first tack round, you're going to suck. Like we've seen Gobuster, we've seen, Bobster, we've seen Marcel as well.
Yep.
First tack round, they go dead last. So it's harder to expect things from them. Yeah.
Yeah. Agree. I'm trying to see if there's... Oh, JRC and Brosif could be both players that I would consider between B or C.
Yeah, so J or C is really interesting because he actually has a very long competitive history.
He does.
He goes back to set 5. He's actually had a chance to qualify to TAC round, but because of his residency status, didn't make it. He actually gave it to another CM player. So I think because he's studying, nobody knows what his current form is like. But if you take his peak, he could get there. If not, I think a C is respectful and standard.
Yeah.
I think he's also one of the more the players happier to take a lot of risks from his
Yeah.
regional performance. He had a lot of Ixtal games. I'm not sure if it was just week 1 regionals. I think he played from play-ins, if I'm not mistaken, or was it day 1, week 1?
Yes.
He had a lot of Ixtal games, which I was
Kai Wing was
surprised. He had
also
like
planned.
6 different games of
Yeah.
Ixtal across his regionals run, which is obviously much more than the average.
Yep.
So I wonder how that will fare in maybe if you make to day 3, great. But for days 1 and 2, is he going to be taking those same amount of risks? If so, when that backfires, you land in the bottom 2 positions of the standings. So.
Yep.
And I do want to mention, from my perspective, the reroll players typically get nerfed quite heavily when it comes to TAC round. And JRC is one of them. Is like 47% reroll or something in 2 TPCs in the tier 1 in set 15, set 16. And the reason is just, it's just a lot harder to get good tempo going on stage 3 when you're playing against the best of the best macro players as
Yep.
well. Typically reroll, we've seen in the past sets, you have to
Understood.
put them down a notch.
Yep. Brosif, not in C.
So hard.
I would probably put him in B. Would be my, but that's also homer takes. I like the guy.
It's debut, tech round stage. He has had a very good set. He has made it to tier 1. He has made it to attack round. I think it's all something that we should applaud. He did end up playing a lot of different comps compared to the rest of the field. He's one of the players that popularized
Yes.
the Felios reroll, for example.
Played some weird stuff.
And I think that's good for kind of surviving regionals and making it day to day, and eventually making the attack round. How will it fare against just much stronger opponents? Is my question.
Yep.
Yeah. If you look at his historicals, you could even put him at B, like career stats wise, not that strong for North America. First tack round, reroll heavy player. All these are supposed to be debuffs. But I will make an exception for Brosef. I've watched his games. I've heard him talk about the game.
Yeah.
And the eye test has to, if you're just going by the eye test, I think he's actually a low B player.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I think that's true. I'm willing to make exceptions out of my own rules.
I think we'll keep him top of C for now
Yeah.
and see if we need to adjust it later. Is there anyone else that you'd say is like towards the bottom, even the bottom of B? I think B tier is going to be really full.
Yes, it should be right. This
Yeah.
is like roughly the average of our competitors. coming into the weekend. Towards the bottom of B, I'd maybe add someone like Travis. Travis did not have the best regionals. Didn't make. I think he had a decent run, but a lot of his game is fast line oriented. He played a lot of middle flex, for example, and it's not always easy to get to the fast line spots. And I think he is more open to playing it than others, even from spots that are not ideal for it. I think some players have just a better mix of 4 costs on stage 4, of 3 cost reroll, of playing lower cap, and of going for fast line the games that they can, where they have more resources. Where Travis just sometimes go for fast line regardless, even from these spots where you roll down on stage 4, you don't have your front line upgraded, and you end up bleeding up to 7th or 8th. I think that can happen to him quite often this weekend.
Okay.
And that's what I'm a little bit worried about in his case.
Yep.
I will say this guy is a scrim god. Not that it's 100% accurate, but
He is quite good
killing
at fast line in general. I think
Yes.
there's been a lot of Tactician metas where fast line was not good. You couldn't really play around fast line often, or there weren't many avenues to play into it or options to play for. Where this set and this patch specifically, there's just so many different variations of fast line boards.
Yep.
He is an APAC player by heart.
Yeah,
'cause he
yeah,
likes the
that's a good comparison.
tiebreaker. He
Yeah.
likes the the W in terms of your spark lines and like your placement distribution. I want to suggest a player that's also being low B that is very similar to him, and that would actually be Little Bear, who won the APAC regionals. Again, if you look at his profile, he's been doing very, very well on fast nine compositions. He also is a Mel master, just like Travis as well, like 1.3 AVP across the regionals. And he's also in our study group with AQ1H, Ironbog, Jazz Latte. So he knows all the tech. He says he's not a genius, but he tries to work super hard for it. I respect that. And for me, I think this is a really cool breakthrough set for him.
Yeah,
You know, he's tried 5 regionals. First time he's made it here. He's
One
actually
more,
done really good
one more
cap.
last thing for Travis that I forgot to mention.
Go ahead.
Back in the Paris Open, coming to the tournament, he confessed to me that his edge for that tournament was playing Mel Flex, but no one was playing Mel Flex.
Oh, true.
Because he knew some ways to get Mel to proc rated items a little bit earlier in terms of making the PvE round much longer. But he has a lot more reps on this comp than anyone else in the field. Because he was playing it on patches where it didn't really even exist and playing around Bessa as a carry in the first or second patch of the set. So I think he was quite happy to see the buffs that came through in 6.5, and overall it's part of his comfort pick of this tournament.
I will say also Lil Bear's been dominating NA ladder this set.
Yeah, he
who hasn't
picked
from
up
APAC?
Ionia.
AQ1H has been dominating NA ladder.
Yeah.
What's NA up to? They're kind of asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care, man. They're all in the TPC.
Right, goes trying to
Fine.
get rank 1 NA.
That's true. I will put another player into C before we move on to the higher tiers. I think Milo has to go there as well. Part of VP, teammates with Maris especially, but he is a first or 8 player that does typically end up on the 8th a lot. I will say this for him. He looked dead last when it came to regional finals, but he clutched up in the last 3 games. Really good Ishtal player when it really comes down to it. He just shouldn't move off the Bilgewater. He loves Bilgewater. He's terrible on that comp.
You put him C or B?
I put him C.
Okay.
I put him top of C.
I think Bilgewater is a comp that's going to be very coin flippy. If you find the MF earlys in the shop, if you're able to not have to roll all your gold on 8 to stabilize, if you high roll a center or Kindred. And I'm not sure if players are maybe too open to it from when Bilgewater was so dominant at the start of the set. I think a lot of players that are not maybe in this tournament, like Scapeas, etc., just had such a propensity to play Bilgewater even in later patches because of how comfortable they are on the comp. Where I do think it is a little bit flippy in a tournament like Tech Round. So I wonder if it's going to be a trap for some players to play into.
Looking at this list, I think there's a lot of players that are in A or high B. I feel like that's where a lot of our field is, and obviously that makes sense for this. But I'm looking at the bottom of our screen, and I'm seeing so many players that I'm like, these could be A, could have an argument to be A.
I would add Dasic to B.
To higher B?
Yeah, higher B. I do like his game plan a lot for regionals. Most of his game plan was very realistic and very humble, and not trying to play into these fast line spots that you shouldn't be playing into with low resources. He was playing a lot of just tempo, Aphelios, Demacia when he needed to. Just humble comps that get you
reroll.
Exactly, that get you top 4, that move you along the tournament. If Dasic were to make it to a final lobby, for example, well, how does that change? Maybe he says, hey, my best realistic, highest EV meta read is to play this humble TFT. But can he flip the switch in a final lobby, for example? And does he make the final lobby just off his humble playstyle, considering the field is going to be stronger? The meta is very defined now. It's been a month, basically, of playing the same patch without any changes. So I think high B is good for Dasik. I expect him to finish around like the 13th, 14th, 15th range. If he does better, great for him.
Right.
But I expect that kind of placement from him.
I do want to put another player there, which would be Setsuko. I think this is a little bit controversial because we know his cap is actually so much higher. But this set's in particular, not the most standout-ish. And what he was typically known for is like a great first place player. He actually has the lowest first place rate out of the field here.
He did not top 4 or did not win a game in the TPC until the third cup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say is I do think this is low for Setsuko. I would put him in A. This patch is very good for him, and his stats are ruined. Did you watch America's Finals? I'm pretty sure this guy was just trolling the whole time. He took alternating win-loss with Ixtal, which is just a troll, and then afterwards
that's not a troll.
No. And then afterwards he take 7 losses.
Oh, okay.
I will just say,
he's just trolling.
What he's known for, it seems to be completely flipped on his head in terms of his results this set. And despite this, his most played comps are the comps he's known for. Fast 9 stuff, Flex, Annie. But the stats are atrocious. They're like sub 5 AVP on all of these comps that are considered to be his best.
It wasn't as good though. That line wasn't as good in the beginning of the set.
But this is for regionals. This is regional stats.
He made it out of regionals.
I'm looking at the stats. I was not sure how. I had
Okay,
to, really crunch the
I'm
numbers.
telling you, it's because of that final lobby. Okay. He literally was going 8-8 for fun. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So
he didn't mind that much at the end.
No.
Still, the first place thing is like, it's kind of questionable.
I think it was like
right?
a 7 or 8% win rates this set.
Yeah, it's not very high.
It's surprising. I mean, it's very low actually. I think it's hard to get lower if you're making the tag round in the first place.
I think all of those all of them did come from either regionals or I think he won 1 game or 2 games in the last cup. So he's at least scaling.
Okay. Top of B is good.
Yep.
Another player that's super similar to Setsuko in terms of storyline is actually Jazz Latte.
Okay.
This is his best set ever of his career. He was 4th place in pro points.
Here.
I would say below Setsuko, probably mid B.
Okay.
Yep. He's not changed much as a player, but this time around, he's done very well in the tempo stuff, and he has the same arc where his first place rate was over 20% in the last set. And he had 37 games where he didn't go first this time around. So he also didn't get a first place until the 3rd cup.
Yep.
So changing styles, but, you still have to give him his props.
Yep.
He's right behind YBY, AQ1H, and Ironbog in our circuit, and that's very hard to do.
He has had a lot of cases where he qualifies his attack round and just doesn't really do well.
True.
I'm not sure what it is about the pressure or just the end of sets. Maybe he has more advantages with intuition, for example, the start of the set. But historically, I remember being very high on him back in Monsters Attack when he first came into the scene, and I was very hyped for him. And then he continued to kind of let down audiences internationally when it came to attack rounds.
Yeah, I think he's just there's a lot of things where tempo players, when they go to attack round and tempo is harder to actually secure, they just fall off the ladder quite hard. And he's also not a super strong details guy. So I think, higher... He gets nerfed a lot when it comes to higher levels.
It's kind of like bullying playstyle, where usually you can bully weaker players and find a lot of advantages that you shouldn't with tempo, and then when you can't, it all kind of crumbles.
Yeah.
Understood. Sounds good. I think this B tier is going to be really full. Or at least I think this A tier is probably going to be really full.
I would add EMEA as well to B tier. I think he had a great regionals, very deserved EMEA champion. I think he had the best meta read. Similar to that whole prep group, really, which is playing around, not just going straight to 9, but actually stabilizing on 8, around a lot of Demacia, around a lot of... He especially played a lot of Freljord, Bruisers into Rise. I think he had a lot of great spots for it, but he hyped a lot of those spots with lifting competition and, just really strong, like the Blanc, Scion, Freljord, Bruiser openers. But I'm not super certain if I can put him in 8 tier just yet. I think we'll have to see this weekend, really. It'll be his... Okay. Yeah, his big comeback to the attack round stage, I would say.
Yeah. I think he has a lot of potential for going higher, but B middle of B is fair. Another player for me, low B, would definitely be Mori. I think this is the guy that really low B. Revolutionized basically playing only 3-cost rerolls the entire time. And he was very successful. He got 43 points in just 6 games in the first day of the APAC regionals. But when it came to the finals and when everyone kind of caught up to the meta, we did see that advantage just kind of evaporate. So I think low B is good for him. You could probably even go top of C. we have to see more new tricks from him.
I think in regionals, near the start of regionals, there were many players that weren't super high on Darius reroll, that didn't know how to play it well, and I think that all that advantage that you might have had as a 3-cost reroller is gone, like you mentioned, for this weekend. So there isn't really this secret tech that you can rely on to get a lot of results.
He had a cooking pot Darius. It was Darius 2 with 8,000 HP, and
Whoa.
it beat a full-capped Annie board.
You know who else had a cooking pot Darius? Revan.
Ooh.
Maybe we should bump Revan up to B.
All right, S tier Revan. I'm
Say
down.
no more.
Here we go. Okay, I'm very curious, Clement, about a lot of these CN players because for many of the people I imagine watching this, they don't watch TOC or anything in the Chinese circuit.
I will start by this. I think this is the strongest TOC roster they have ever sent, bar none. They have the OGs in Huan Mie. They have the middle generation in Li Sao and Li Tuchuan, both very, very strong S tiers. And then they have the best newest players. CSFX is the real deal. I think he is the closest thing that you're going to get out of CN that is something like a Wei Iverson.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he is. I watch him stream a lot. He talks about all of his thought processes. He is very much forward thinking. He has that from Ironbog as well, where he's always thinking about what is the best next augment that he can get. What are the potential high rolls? He is known as a first or eighth player a lot, so people are a little bit lower on him when it comes to Swiss stage. But this guy is a monster. He had a very fun storyline the last set when it came to TAC round. He was 1 point behind Chi2X. If he won that, he would have went to his first TAC round. He would have won $1 million RMB, and
Crazy.
then he missed it. It was one of those moments where everyone was building up for him, just didn't get it, and this time he's coming back for a vengeance. This is probably the best new talent coming out of CN.
Okay.
High A for sure.
And I think every set that we have had the same prediction around new talent, they've performed at a very high level. I'm thinking about like Zenbai recently.
Yep.
Li Tuchuan a bit further back as well, where it's like this new wave of CN talent that actually comes from TOC and performs.
All right, walk me through these three.
All right, so Hanxing is Josie. We're not going to talk about him. Ringo is part of our study group.
Okay.
And he has been a long-time performer, but he's never really hit the TOC stage that strongly. And this time around, his most notably is he won APAC by going for a steal strategy. He knew that Yone was going to be the hardest one to contest. Hit a 3-star for 3-star Yone. That's how he won and got his road attack round. He was eliminated very, very early on in TOC. So I think this would be the only player what I would go like out of this raw TOC roster, probably a mid C tier. For me.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you look at TOC, they're just missing Flancy and Zenbai. Everyone else is goated, is kind of there.
Okay.
The other one I want to mention is, so we're not actually sure how to pronounce his name. His name is Ching Cui Wei in TOC.
You're just like breathing into your mic as you're listening. Anyway.
But he will be called, I think this is perhaps a Japanese name. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
Koyu.
Koyu. We don't know. We're gonna ask. We're gonna ask. But he will be showing up as Kouyue when it comes to the broadcast.
Koyui.
Sorry, Koyui.
Anyway,
He
that
didn't
guy.
use this name in TOC, so that's why I'm like really confused.
Yeah.
But this guy is one of the brains behind TFT tables. So a lot of you that are down in stats will probably know him. If you just look at his stats, it's crazy stats. Like, this is probably the best statistical player out of the regionals for TOC, and he is known as a very formulaic player.
Sure.
You know, he digs in all the flow charts, has everything nailed down, is very mechanical in a sense of like what he's going to play. You can kind of predict if you know his game plan. But the coolest thing about him is he figured out a new cap on Rise that we didn't really see anyone playing, that melded the Demacia, Freljord, and the Galio lines together to basically just get a best of hits of all the Rise regions that you could get. He played it twice in the regionals. So
cool.
Very, very interesting player, creative, has a lot of stats backing on his side. I would say that a lot of players put him closer to S in the CN scene as well.
Okay.
But about the same level as CSFX.
Okay.
I think top of A for now, like top A's.
So below or above?
I have CSFX above him because I think we have one more set to kind of look at it.
Yep.
But if you're talking about new emerging talent, like these two guys are it.
Yep.
I'll chime in with an EMEA player. I think Kubi should be also an A. Had a really good consistent TPC season,
100%.
highest pro point earner, TPC points. Barely didn't make final lobby. I think he had a really unfortunate game that baited him into playing Fast 9 Kindred, which I think I have not seen a single player truly do well with in terms of getting to the Fast 9 board and actually finishing at the top 3 or above. You have 80 items. There's nowhere else to go. Jinx is contested, Warwick is contested. You end up trying to play for Fast 9 Kindred, and then it just kind of fails. And he didn't make final lobby because of that on the final game or the game before that. But I think Kubi's a very complete player. He historically has been close to ascending to this, top 5 super elite level, and was there, I think, around set 11, set 12 when he last performed well at Tactician, and then kind of fell back a little bit in terms of consistency, his results in set 13 and 14. But I think he's back in top form. I think he's the best Polish player right now. Sorry, Travis. And I think he has what it takes to finish at least top 12, I would say.
Yep, 100% agree. He's been very impressive all set, and so I'm excited to see if that'll continue.
I want to round out with mid feed, probably in I think mid B for mid feed. He had a really good run at Magic and Mayhem, where he was 4th place, right next to YBY1 in 3rd. The brothers are back at it again. He's probably been known as the second best Vietnamese player for a while, but he only has 1 trip to TAC round, and he has a lot of time missing competitively between those 4 sets right now. So I think we're not sure that he's up to the previous form, so I think mid B is good.
Yeah. I went and put everyone else that we had left, other than the JOC players who we're not going to put on here, into A tier, because I do think that's where Kimberly, Marcel, Robin, and Gobo all belong. This A tier is going to be very hard to organize, I feel.
How do we want to do this? How do we want to tackle it? Because we have to talk about the S and A's and in detail.
AQ1H needs to belong in the top of A. Yes?
Yes. I think he's probably the most steady performer out of our study group. He's a very consistent top 4 oriented player. We kind of contrast it with Ironbog.
I don't think so.
If you only have 1 run, close to 2, like in level, in eye test, I think he is pretty much S, but I think for historical reasons, probably top of A is good enough.
Yep.
I would move Gobo up quite a lot in A.
See, the problem is who we're moving down. So I think Wei-Mu wait, give me that again.
Wei-Mu Locho.
Wei-Mu Locho. Yeah. I would probably put towards the end with Robin, possibly. But I can't. Dude, this Robin guy gets underrated every time.
Yeah, Robin did play a lot of 3-cost reroll at regionals. And there's been a lot of patches this set where it seemed like he was not fully, locked into TFT, and then still did very well.
The thing about Robin and Flowchart TFT is that it's very hard for them to catch up in points. So what we've seen from him is if he stays on top, then he can just coast all the way to finals. But if he's behind, he typically ends up bot 20. So that's what we've seen from his runs. We do have a lot of sample size.
Where do you see the CM players compared to someone like Gobo, for example? I'm looking at Ko, Yui, Lisao, and CSFX.
So I will tell you how the CM rank their own players in terms of like raw strength, not necessarily historicals. And the true S tiers are Lisao, Lee, Tuswan, and Flancy. That's kind of like the everyone agrees. They put Wamia there too, but let's be honest, Wamia doesn't actually have that great stats. He's really good at winning tournaments.
Yep.
But most of the time, Wamia would be top of A instead of S.
And historically, Wamia has not done well in the recent era.
No.
In TAC rounds at all.
Yeah. He will have the greatest impact if he does win.
Yep.
But if we're talking from an objective standpoint, I don't actually think he matches up to the S's.
Yeah, because, set 5 is a long time ago. Like
It
a long time ago. Obviously, winning Paris means that he is somewhat back. And winning regionals means he's somewhat back. But, again,
he was the lowest points in regionals to make it to TAC round. But like I said, killer instinct. If he makes it to finals, he's winning it. Yeah.
But where does Gobo fit?
He is
And
definitely
Kubi.
the second best EMEA player, Gobo. I think Gobo's stronger than Kubi. I think Gobo just is a very creative player, and this set really fits him perfectly. He didn't really perform well at regionals. Not sure the reasoning behind this exactly. He bombed out in day 1.
I think he already made it. So
yeah, he was already
a lot
qualified.
of people who qualified just.
But I definitely think he's the second best player from EMEA.
I honestly want to take Gobo over Marcel P. I think Marcel P is very
I would as
strong,
well, yeah.
but he still has things to prove.
How would you put CSFX and Kou?
Yeah, we don't know how to pronounce that
I
name,
don't know, we're
so
trying.
sorry in advance. Kou, we're taking a guess here. I don't think you can take Kou over Marcel P or Gobo at this point because, he's kind of new. I think putting him middle of A is already very, very high for a guy.
Yeah, I think I'd put him behind Cam and Robin for sure. I mean, and especially Cam, I think, has evolved a lot this set from the beginning to where he is now. I think he's one of the most complete players in terms of the different types of game plans he has. 3-cost reroll, stabilizing on stage 4, and also playing fast 9. One of the biggest weaknesses Cam had historically was playing very top 4 oriented. And the reason why he did so poorly when he finally made that final 8 in set 14 was that he wasn't really accustomed to winning games, to playing for first, to capping boards, and he had a really, really bad time in that final day. I think he's changed that a lot. I think he's proactively tried to address this, and I think he's a very complete player coming into this tournament. I would put Cam above Kubi as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't really dislike much this A tier anymore. Robin down here, this is just like he has such a high floor, but like I don't feel like his ceiling is as high as some of these other players. That's why Robin, I feel like, stays there. But I feel like Marcel P specifically has the killer instinct of a competitor to possibly win that. It just comes from his background. So I'm struggling to keep him this low in A.
So I would say that the thing about Marcel is historically it's hard to put him very, very high. Before this set, like this set was a bomb. It's a sub 4 AVP set, very, very high first place rate. I think he fixes issues with the 7 and ace. I still want to see how he performs on complex, difficult roll downs. I think that was his weakness in the last time and why his 8th rate was so high.
Yep.
I haven't been convinced in regional because he was a 50% reroll player. So he had kind of the same lead as the rest of Citadel players. Yep. I'm not sure that is really completely gone. And I think, he was 40th place last time.
Yep.
So it's hard to just like jump him ahead of everyone that has, a couple more runs.
I would still put more trust on someone like Cam.
Yeah, I think you should have Cam and Robin songs over Marcel.
And Robin as well.
Oh.
Really? You guys would put Marcel here?
Yes.
I would, personally.
For the record, Marcel, in my opinion, is right here.
And I think Marcel's a very good player.
Just letting you guys know.
It's a different beast playing attack round, and the only read we have from him in attack round, like Clement said last set, was not the best one. And I do think he's proven a lot in terms of the same as Cam. Cam had some weaknesses. I think he's addressed them, and he's become a much better player, despite not having the greatest start to the set in TPC.
Yep.
And Marcel as well, but this is where you really prove. This is where the culmination of your set happens. This is where the reality of your level as a player comes in. Obviously, it's one tournament sample size, but the field is that much stronger. The boards, on average, are that much stronger in stage 3. No one is playing some weird lines. No one is
there was a lot of trolling in regionals. So if you had the right meta read, it was actually not that difficult to coast to kind of like a 4 AVP if you were in the study groups.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. I do feel... I mean, I disagree with Marcel, but that's okay. This is why this is a panel of us. I think A looks good now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think we need to talk about the S's and why they're there.
And we need to order them.
Agree.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in order yet. So I think Weijin... Let's say this. For all those people out there who are like, Weijin is washed. He went 27th at regionals. I just want to say... This man is already qualified 4 separate times to the attack round, so can we calm down, please? He's not washed. It's one tournament, man. I don't get it.
For anyone that says TFT is all luck, for him to have won 3 TBC tournaments is one of the crazier things that we've seen happen in TFT, because there isn't really a comparison to before TBC existed.
Did you see in the video that we used your quote from Malala? When Malala won, you said on the broadcast, you're like, we will never see in the history of TFT someone ever come close to this ever again, or something like that.
No, I would say not doing it again. It's still possible for someone like Juan to do it, the Golden Road, but I think it's still completely unlikely with just how TFT is as a game. It's just very hard for someone to be so dominant across such a small stretch of time in a single set. But Weijin has come very close to that. Juan as well, obviously, with his Paris win and recent win as well. So I think Wei Jin has had the best set till now, despite the poor regional performance, which we all would have loved to see him make another final lobby, maybe even win regionals would have been crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I think you look at a player and you try to see where their floor is and where their ceiling is. He has sky-high ceiling, a great Ishtal player, won the first 2 TPCs off of that line, and his floor is also very high because he's very creative in his transitions.
Yep.
Like, what I enjoy watching him the most is that he'll take a lot of reroll lines and just play it like it's about to be reroll, and it's like, nah, I'm stable enough. I'm just going fast 9.
Yep.
So
100%.
very, very strong in both regards. I think he is the player to beat this TAC round.
And he's number 1.
Yep.
Gotta
Yep,
be.
I agree.
Yep.
Gotta be. Okay, so let's talk about everything below that. I think we've given him his flowers, and also, you know, fought off the haters maybe. I don't know who started that narrative, but anyway.
YBY1 for me has to be the second player. He has
Okay.
actually a very similar history to Wei Jin Iverson, where he went 3rd place an extra time, 3 times.
Yep.
4th might be the charm. In my opinion, YBY1 has always been the player with the highest cap out of all of these players, just because mechanically he is on a completely different level.
Sure.
Incredibly fast, and what a playstyle he likes to do is he actually likes to go open a lot of time, and then he will soup in on open lines. He'll say, okay, this line, no one's here. I'll go into that. That is a playstyle that most players don't even attempt. They're not
Yep.
fast enough to do that. And he's also the king of thieves. Like, if you start defending him on 6 copies of a 4 cost, you're already dead. Like, you have to start defending on 5. He's incredibly fast. We've seen this over and over again with Belveth and Imbecile lines. And they pick specific augments just to do that as well.
Right.
So it's very, very hard to defend against YBY.
Okay.
I think as well, this playstyle is very well suited for this meta. It's a very wide meta. I think things like being able to roll for Bard and play around 3/5 spikes is very strong, around the unlocks as well. Yordle, for example, is a line that YBY won. Gobo and someone like Raiko have played a lot this set and found success that no one else has really been doing. Yeah, and I would compare as well Gobo in that sense to YBY1 in terms of him learning a lot from YBY1. He sees YBY1 as like his mentor in terms of how he plays TFT and tries to emulate that. And I think YBY is the mentor for a reason. And I'm sad that he hasn't had a better crowning performance yet in his career, because I think it's top 9 or higher every single TAC round and 5 TAC round. That's almost as
No one else
or
has
more
done
impressive
that.
than winning
No.
a TAC round, in my opinion. Because TFT, you can't just spike a tournament and say you're the best in the world, although that is the case in the Go conversation sometimes. But I think being in the top 9 or above in 5 different tournaments,
It was 4, but yeah,
4?
still no one has
okay,
done that.
this is
yeah.
his 5th, yeah.
Yeah, this is 5th.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's still incredible.
I mean, I agree. This guy, watching this guy, he's the most impressive TFT player that.
I learned he
I get
also
to
has
watch.
some form of like photographic memory, which is just like, okay, this guy's actually
Yeah,
just
yeah,
born
yeah.
with too many buffs, man. You can't beat him.
100%.
I think the 3rd best player, you have to give it to Double still. I know
Yeah.
he hasn't had the best performances in recent TAC rounds. That is true. But if it just comes down to the eye test, it's amazing. If you look at his stats this set, they're only second to Wei Jin Iverson. It's another sub 4 set. And he's actually one of the players that's really good on Buildwater.
I think he has better stats than Wei Jin AVP after regionals.
Yeah. I would still have
Quite a
Wei Jin
bit.
over him a little bit, like just like the full set, but it's still a killer.
Also, if Double wins TAC Crown and gets his second, he is the GOAT.
Yep.
We're not going to open up the GOAT debate now at the
I
end of
will.
the podcast.
I'll open it.
But yes, I think Double is underrated a lot in many ways in this conversation, simply because he's only won one TAC round. It was all the way back in set 3. But TFT is a game that it is very hard to reinvent yourself every set, to adapt to every set, and be consistently good every set and never have a bad set. Double has never missed a regional finals. He's made his 8th TAC round now, more than any other player in the world, and no one has had a career as long as his and as consistent as his, and I think that is overlooked a lot of times. Just the sheer drive to continue wanting to be the best for so long in a game like TFT is hard to have, that motivation and that willpower to continue to prove yourself. And I think that's one of Double's biggest assets.
Yep. I don't disagree. This guy's... this 3 up here are just like...
Yeah, I think they're the big 3 for sure.
Yeah.
I think Hwanmie is... Hwanmie, it's really hard to rank Hwanmie because you expect him to win, but you don't expect him... Like, there's also like the 60% chance where he just doesn't do well in Swiss as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ironbog, I think to some capacity the same. I think he's a player who has been very dominant and has a really high chance of making final lobby, but then just bombs out in final lobby. Just I don't know if it's just sample size, but every single time that we've seen him make final lobby, he is usually ending up on 7 points in the first 3 games or 4 games.
I will say his last tack round actually unplayable. So some of
It's
those
happened a lot of
slots.
times though. I'm not sure if it's
That's
just
true. That's true.
Right.
trying to force his first place a little bit too much in some cases.
I will say Ironbog is definitely, for me, probably the 4th best player here.
You would do it like this?
Yes,
Okay.
I would do it like that. And a couple things you have to remember. Number one, this guy statistically was still the best player out of APAC. Best in pro points. He didn't necessarily win
Okay.
a TPC tournament, but he's still very, very solid in that regards. Both without you and YBY rank him as the best player out of APAC. And one of his best traits is that he is very much a forward-thinking player that also rolls with risks.
Sure.
He knows he's going for 1st or 8th. He knows that if he gets the 1st, there's a tiebreaker advantage tied onto that. And that's how he got into the finals last time over Gobusar as well. So he's willing to play with the bad beats. Sometimes when it comes to the first couple games of finals, that doesn't work out for you and you fall hopelessly behind. And that's why he has had so many 8ths
Right.
overall. But the style is incredibly hard to pull off. He's basically playing in a different dimension than everyone else. You know, everyone else might be looking at their board. He's already thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, trying to go for the max cap.
I would say looking at this list, there's something pretty obvious that I'm seeing is that there's a big 3 in APAC. Like
Yes,
100%.
there is.
With YBY, Ironbog, and AQ1H.
Yep.
But then you look at CN, and the top end of CN is so strong. But not like the heroes of this in the same way that, you know, there is for Wasian and YBY and double.
I will say there has been a trend. CN has not won attack round since set 7. A lot of these CN favorites, they come in as favorites. They're the ones who end up bombing out to the 32nd position, 34th, and a lot of these
Fancy.
JOC players come in as nobodies that haven't proven themselves on the attack round stage, and they end up making final lobby. So I'm waiting to see what happens this weekend. I think there's been so many tournaments where we rank 6 or 7 CN players in the top, 16, and that doesn't end up quite panning out in ways that I think it's always tends to be more predictable for Americas and EMEA and APAC, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that narrative. However, I will make an exception for CSFX and Koyo. These guys are actually... I'll just put it this way. I do think they're actually generational talent that will be around for a very long time and will start to take over those old guard TOC spots from people.
Will you give us the rundown of why Li Tuchuan is so good?
So I actually think Li Tuchuan is more of a top A than necessarily an S tier.
Really?
Yes, but I'll go into the details a little bit. He is the closest player that you have to a sort of just... he's like the closest comparison from him is actually someone like Disup. So he has a sub 4 AVP career, not just single sets.
Yep.
It's the entire TOC career that's a sub 4 AVP. Very hard to get. And he also has well over 20% first place rate throughout of these tournaments. He's known as a very stable player. But the thing that has happened with Li Tuchuan is he's had very obvious gaffes. Like he missed tack round off of point calculation where he could have actually joined EWC, messed up some crystal hash thing and, kind of got dropped from the team afterwards. So he's one of those players where I feel like we should have seen more of him at tack round, but he's missed his chances like in high profile ways a couple of times. He is actually the CN player I watch the most because he explains everything he does. He's very calm and sort of like he's very, very good at minute details. He understands all the stats and stuff like that. But I will say like emotionally stability and like when it comes to pressure in big moments, probably not the strongest out of the field.
Okay.
And it's hard. I don't think he has quite the magic that the 4 players above him have. But just off the raw overall experience, you have to say like he's the top CN.
Okay.
How do we rank regions? I think that's the last big question.
Yeah. Oh, well, did we finish rating? I kind of put B in order of how we were saying it.
Yep.
Well, I just want to finish this.
Okay.
C. So looking at B, anything that needs to change? I kind of feel good about it. Maybe Raiko.
I would put Travis over Raiko, maybe.
I think Dasik over Jazz Latte, personally.
Yeah, I would drop Jazz Latte a little bit.
Even like this. You said Aaliyah over Dasik.
Yes, I did.
So.
Oh, you have Aaliyah over Dasik.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Dasik has more sample size, though.
Lee had a very good
regionals
reach.
winner.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the comps we played, I think were, and the reach should be very similar. These are all in the same study group, but yeah, I think they're comparable basically.
I'm actually high on Travis as well. I think Travis.
I'm not
good
sure if I
player.
have Setsuko top of B.
That's fair. That's a
Personally?
really good point. I think that's a little bit too much historical perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think there's a victim of statistics happening
Listen,
here.
start of the sets, I said, wow, this is Gobo's set, this is Setsuko's set. These guys are for sure
I
making
don't
Tac
know.
round and final lobby, and Setsuko has not made it in the way that I thought he would, is all I would say. And in the fashion that I thought he would in terms of playing fast 9 and executing well.
I'm also not sure how much he's scrimming. None of his study group made it, so it's really hard to.
That is a fair point, actually.
Yeah,
But-
like for Tac round, you have to have good study groups. and
Yeah.
good scrims.
So where would you put him?
Would you not have Lil Bear higher as well?
I would have him over Mori.
Okay.
Just talking about the set, but I think Little Bear again. He suffers from. I just don't want to place him too high with first Tac round. I don't think that's actually
Yeah.
wise.
Wait, so where's Setsuko going?
I would still take him above. I don't know. I think raw strength he's definitely above Jazz Latte, but like current form, I'm not sure where he is right now.
Right here?
I think you have to. I'll take him over Jazz. I'll take him over Jazz.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with that. I'm
I'm high on Travis too. To be honest, I think Travis is
Over
fast
mid?
9 boards. Yep, I'd take him over.
I take him over Jazz Latte as well, I think.
Yep, agreed.
Yep. I think it's good.
Yep,
All I see is EMEA moving up.
Yep. I'm on board with it.
I'm
Good
down
job,
with that.
guys.
I'm
I
down
got
with
you.
that.
I got your backs.
I'm down to hype them before the show, then watch them
All
fall
right,
apart.
Revan, 1 rank up. All right, to finish it off. All right, silly.
Yeah.
Okay, not Revan. Come on, man.
Revan, I think, will prove. Listen, this is what he does for a living. He proves
That
the
is
haters wrong.
That would be cinematic.
And I would not want him anywhere higher on this tier list simply because this is a buff to him. He is in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yep.
He is locked in, and I think this is what he's best at.
I
Proving
was
everyone wrong.
I was talking to an unnamed person at breakfast, and they said that I have permission to rank Revan in dead last. So we're good to go. Yeah.
We'll find out who that is.
We've
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
out from another MCOI member. I think
Whoa.
Milo is probably a little bit too high.
Jeez. Oh.
Shots fired.
What? I'd take Broseph over Milo, to be honest. And then Ringo over Milo as well. And I think that looks good to me for C tier.
I would take Jersey over Kai Wang.
Oh.
Okay.
This is correct in that order. I don't know anything about this player, so
Yeah, there's not much to
Okay.
really go off of right now. So
yep. And then D tier, I think out of respect to Darth Noob and his experience, belongs in top of D. His form recently has not been impressive enough to move this around.
If Revan made week 2 regionals, I think he
Right.
could be higher, should be higher. I think he had a really good first TPC set last set, despite everything and what people expected of him. And obviously won Shurima Cup, but yeah, the recent form, it has not been good. It has not been clean. It has not been pretty.
Darth was one spot away from being the same situation of being
Yeah.
in week 1. So it's just,
I will say there's a very easy way to rank D is that they've all actually had very close to final performances in opens. Obo was 13th at Macau, Reddy was 9th in Paris, and Darth Nub was 11th. So we could just rank it based off that and call it a day.
wait. So you're putting Reddy higher than
Yeah,
Darth?
I think
actually,
Reddy-
I actually like that.
I actually think Reddy has cap, but we just haven't seen enough of him.
True, the potential's there.
Yep.
In one set,
This is a correct list, yeah.
yeah,
Let's see.
lock it in.
All right, dude, where do you guys land on the Wamiya thing? Because I think the Wamiya thing is the one that just like eats away at me the most. I know he, in skill-wise, should probably be an A, but if he makes it to the final, he has to be S.
No, I
No,
have
no,
missed here.
no.
I think
He's
you
gotta be
can't.
S.
You can't
Okay.
just the plot armor is just too high. He
Yeah, yeah.
He has done what he needed to do to be an S tier for this tournament.
Mhm.
I think there's been times in the past where he was overrated coming into Attack Round simply because of his historic performances and obviously who he was as a player. I think this set has done a lot to launch him back up to on par with that historic rating, I think.
Yeah.
And his cap, and this is where he proves himself in terms of truly ascending to becoming a legend. I know in CN in particular, he is the legendary figure that people want to see have success. So I'm rooting for him.
I'm just saying, if we make that Wamiya chibi after he wins his tack round, we are going to be
Don't
making
leak.
so much money. Wamiya comes in, starts the second CN dynasty, overtakes Milala, does it after 10 sets.
I mean,
money, Tencent.
And I think it's a similar weight on the shoulders of someone like Huamie and someone like Double, for example, because EMEA and CN have not won TAC Crown in a very long time. It's been 8 sets of APAC and Americas switching places with the crown. So I'm rooting obviously for EMEA, but I'm also rooting for CN. I think CN has a good comeback in terms of opens, obviously, with both Paris and Macau. But they still have to come back on the stage that they used to dominate. They used to be this force that everyone thought would never be rivaled, never be matched. The CN dominance would continue forever. They were just genetically better than everyone else in the world, like Koreans are in league. But it hasn't been the case always for the last 8 sets.
and I think similarly with Wei Jin, we never thought anyone would do what he did. And we were even impressed last set when Ironbog did it twice, of winning 2. And so, like,
I feel so bad about that because last set I was like, no one is ever gonna do this again.
Here we are.
Get instantly slapped in the face.
Other interesting storylines before we talk about region rankings. There is no LATAM and Brazil, which I'm very sad about, because just because I love those fan bases and I think they deserve representation.
True.
Just gonna say that formally. Also, no Korea, which is insane.
And Michael was very close to making it on multiple fronts, both through pro points and through its regional performance. So it is sad to not see him from LATAM. Good news though, Revan is the first Spanish player to ever make it, which is huge for EMEA and for Spain as a community. When we had a lot of players and a lot of big streamers and content creators never being able to take the step, so that's a big step forward. And Raiko as well, the first Italian player, a community that used to be quite strong in EMEA at the start of TFT and competitive with more players, but never really had that deep of a pool. And I'm happy to see Raiko really evolve from 2 sets ago to who he is now. He has grown from a C tier player with some potential of doing really well in some tournaments to I think now becoming one of the A+ players in EMEA and potentially S tier if he does well.
And I want to follow up on that point is why are we seeing these smaller language regions kind of fall off? I think it's the prominence of study groups. That's just played such a huge part. In APAC, we have the MOGG study group, the MOG study group, and we're sending 8 players to TAC Round. Cooking Brownies is sending 9 players, and it's based off the fact that they can communicate with each other, right? Our study group is mainly Mandarin. It's the best APAC and CN players talking together, and the best EMEA and America's players doing the same on the other side. So if you don't have the language capacity to join, it's very, very hard to keep up.
And it's really cool that it is cross-region,
Yeah.
right? And that TFT is uniting people, across countries and
Because you don't compete
regions.
with each other. It's
Right.
easier to share tech that way.
Yeah, at least not all of them. But now they're here, and there's 9 from the one and 8 from the other. And so putting them up against each other is very interesting, especially as we look at regions, because it's APAC, there's CN, there's EMEA, and there's Americas. And I think we all can agree that APAC's the best region at TFT at this point.
I would say so.
Currently, yeah.
Especially just from eye test even. Some of the final boards that I see come up on APAC tournaments, TPC tournaments, and regionals as well, they're just very creative, execute really well across the board. I've been very pleasantly surprised.
I will say this. I think CN still has the deepest pool by far because they just have way more players than anyone else, even compared to APAC. But their format is much more streamer focused. They have fan votings. It takes a while for their best competitive players to slowly filter to the top.
Okay.
They are getting there, but I think for now you can still say APAC on top. The thing about APAC that really leveled up was actually talking to the greats of CN. Flancy and Without You are the 2 best minds I've ever listened to in TFT. And if it comes to our study group, those are the 2 that just level everyone up instantly.
So you're saying APAC and CN are 1-2 this going into this TAC round?
I'm not. Look, I think yes. Going into this TAC round, I actually think I won't say CN. I will say TOC. I actually think TOC has the best roster of players.
Okay.
Compared to the other regions, I think for APAC there's a lot of question marks on Mori, on Obo, on Lil Bear first time here, on Jazz Latte. Statistically you should say he does well, but if you look at the history, it's kind of hard to put him into A. So there's a lot of question marks there. I think CN has the most solid roster by far.
So you'd put CN in number 1 for this TAC round?
For TOC, I put TOC number 1. Sorry, because I don't know the JLC players.
You can't separate the regions.
But if you're looking at pick'ems, they're all included.
Yeah,
that's true.
Same with Americas. I think Americas has a very good top end, and then more questionable bottom end.
I agree. I think it's very similar to APAC in that way, but I think that the high end of APAC is higher.
I think EMEA, for example, has a very high floor. I don't think anyone in EMEA is going to end up, unless maybe Raiko in some cases, depending on his read. But I think it's very likely that almost everyone from EMEA is 30 to above.
See, but that's the exact reason that I'm putting EMEA last.
Okay.
Is I think there's just not enough standout. They're all going to finish again getting cut in the 20 to 40 range.
I have
for
to
like
put
two of them.
EMEA in bottom as well, man. Last set, home city Alicante on the stage, best roster ever, and they were just like,
let's see what happens this
we
weekend.
beat the TOC, and I'm like,
Yeah, the Avengers,
what?
right?
Yeah, Gobo ending 10th was a bit sad to see.
Yeah, that was.
So do you think we're crazy for saying that EMEA's last, or are you like?
I think it's quite comparable
Yeah.
between Americas and EMEA. Like I said, I think Americas might have a slightly higher top end with players like Weijin, Cam, Robin recently.
I will make a bold prediction. I think the Cooking Brownies EMEA players are all going to do very well.
Yeah.
I think it's not really about regions, it's about who you study with.
Yep.
And players like Gobooster, I call him the French heretic because he's like studying from everywhere. He's sharing tech with everyone.
I think Gobo would do
especially
really
with
well
APAC
as well. I think
Yeah.
Gobo is starting to ascend to this true S tier level in EMEA,
Yep.
personally. I called it out last podcast we did last set, and you thought I was crazy when I said Gobo was going to pop off.
You did say that,
He
yeah.
had some
That's
bad
true,
stats
that's true.
regionally, but if you see him play as a player, you can tell.
Yeah.
And I think him playing in EWC with Aegis last set really helped him transform in terms of confidence as a player, and I think him and Double can really help EMEA do well this set.
How open is Double to discussing with the rest of EMEA?
Not really.
Yeah, because that's
He joined
that's the
G2
thing
now
I've
with
heard.
Cambiz, Potable, and Enzo, but he doesn't really, as far as I know, talk to anyone else outside of his like.
I feel
core
like if
group
the
is Zyko.
top of your region is like trickling down information and
Yeah.
like growing everything, then
Mhm,
the
mhm.
region just improves so
Yep.
much faster.
Yeah.
So, as a podcast, we're saying APAC, CN, Americas, EMEA.
I would not be surprised if Americas actually does better than both CN and APAC.
Okay.
But I think it's just the low end. Like the floor is very, very low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I think Americas is probably the one that has the most to move. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
they're definitely plus or minus one pretty easily, depending on form and how they do. But again, it's that Cooking Brownies study group. There's a good amount of them, but there's more from EMEA in that group. So there's 5 EMEA and 4 Americas.
Okay.
So we'll definitely see how that ends up. I do think both those study groups are a huge storyline for this, especially if you're really involved in TFT. Or do you guys
45% of the players
True.
coming from 2 groups. It's just
do you call it the MOG group? Because that's way better name, by the way.
there is an official name. They just call it the learning group, but that doesn't have
The
any
learning
aura,
group.
you know.
But mogging is so cool.
I know, and I will explain. MOG is the one that kind of tied the existing study groups together. In APAC, we always had our study group on the TW server.
Yeah.
It's been going for multiple years. MOG obviously went to stream. In CN, he's a very big streamer there, and he was able to share tech, get everyone together, get everyone in the same Discord group, and start studying. And that just leveled up everyone.
Yeah,
so it was I have to give him credit for that. Even though he's not necessarily participating in the tier 1, he is kind of that grandfather figure.
You're kind of frame mogging me right now.
Am I?
Yeah, look at you.
Do you want me to go more like this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry for my body, silly.
No, it's fine. Any other big points we want to talk about? We actually got this done in under an hour.
Yeah,
as far as the tier list
Gang
goes.
is not here, so
I know, no,
it's
right?
a lot easier.
He's not defending Dehua anymore. We skipped the entire discussion.
Exactly.
It was
That's so
15
true.
minutes, man.
It's so true. Anything else before we wrap up, other than you guys should watch the show?
I want to see how the meta ends up. That's
Yeah.
the very interesting thing for me, because a lot of the players were actually practicing on the degen Vayne meta for a very long time, and then it's like, oh, actually we're nerfing that. So the lost streak lifeline now has to be something else.
Right.
I will say, coming to this Saccharin, I think the floor of skill is being raised more and more every set. I think TPC, study groups, just the stakes overall, this being a set with pairs open as well, and
Yep.
much more prep players put into it. I think the floor is going to be very high. This patch being very wide, very good, and played for a very long time. It's been like essentially more than a month that we've been playing on this patch with the revert, especially because it was even like a week and a half before regional started at all. So the patch, there's no surprises. Everyone's going to execute a very clean level. No big mistakes, I think, as well. So I think it's going to be one of the most enjoyable tournaments to watch from a competitive standpoint, and the peak that players will be able to put forward.
100%. Yeah. So make sure you tune in 5 a.m. PST. Yep, that's the right. On Friday and Saturday.
And 1 p.m. CET.
Yeah.
For the local audience.
What is a CET? Anyway.
Central European Time.
Anyway, well, thank you guys for watching the tier list episode for Worlds. We're happy to be able to do this and do it in person. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Be able to be here instead of on a camera and or on a computer. So, yeah, thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, like, subscribe, share the show with all your friends, and make sure you flame our tier list. I'll post it on Twitter. Don't worry. But it's
I'll retweet.
Also flawless.
Don't worry.
Flame us. We enjoy the discussion.
Flame Clement.
These are all for rage bait anyways. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.